just wrote to my subscribers for Global Macro Investor, which is my kind of institutional research service, said, listen, this is what I'm doing with Real Vision. We want to raise some capital. Are you interested? And we raised $5 million in about a week. The next time we went to raise capital, we thought we'd ask our members, because the US had passed the Jobs Act that allows you to crowdfund from accredited investors. So we're like, okay, fine. As long as you've got an existing relationship with them. We just wrote to our members and said, listen, we're raising capital for growth. That's what we want to do. There, we raised $10 million in a week. We're like, wow. Oh my God. So now we've got a business being funded by our customers. Not only are they subscribers, but they're investors as well.
It's really hard for humans to really understand what exponential growth or exponential decrease could look like. So how does that play into how you think about markets and investing?
I think it's a really important thing, because a lot of the world is cyclical, and we're trained to believe in cyclicality and linear thinking. Now, what's incredible is economists are linear. They write models. The models do not represent the real world, because if you show a small child a chart of GDP, it goes up and down in a cycle. We know the economy is cyclical, yet economists build a steady state model, right? So we know that's wrong. But then many of us understand cyclicality, booms and busts, and that becomes law to us. But it's not law. It's law to some things. Exponentiality is something that you see most often in technology, viruses and other stuff. And at this point, you have to understand trend rates of growth, and is this cyclical or not cyclical? Is the adoption of AI cyclical or not? I mean, anybody will tell you it's not. It's a secular trend change. So therefore, why would you want to short companies that are involved in this business? You should be biased only towards buying them. Now, whether at what value and what price, okay, that's a market timing issue. But you know you're armed with exponential growth. And people don't see that because they fear it. Because if I say to you, oh, well, AI is about to go exponential, as are the robots, the first thing that happens to you is fear. It's like, what the fuck does this mean to me? Right? So you start now clouding it with emotion. And it's like, I don't want that. I don't believe in this world. I want to go back to the Mustang and the days of gasoline, and, you know, where we would go to the ball game with our hot dogs, whatever it is, right? Whatever you anchor onto the past for safety. So people really fear change because change is unknown. So how you have to deal with it is embrace it. If you know there's a secular trend change, then embrace it, because then is where the magic happens. All the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. It's never in your comfort zone. So there's a circle, which is the universal set of my comfort zone. And then the magic happens in an entirely different area outside of that. And it's the same with investing. It's the same with life in general, is you need to be out of your comfort zone and understanding it's okay not to know, but to embrace. One of the things, I was working for a hedge fund, a famous big hedge fund, doing very well, and I quit. And I decided to go and move to the Mediterranean coast of Spain and try something I've never tried before, which was writing. And that was outside of my comfort zone because I gave up a lot of potential future income. Starting Real Vision, something I knew nothing about, was even how to make a video, let alone run a company. But outside the comfort zone is where the magic happens. So I want to embrace it because I saw the opportunity. Blockchain technology, another one, outside the comfort zone. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what this really means, but I think I've got an idea and I want to be involved. So I actually live my life according to this. I go around the world diving with sharks. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Or I love trekking across deserts. Why? Because it's dangerous. Not because I'm a thrill-seeking junkie. It's because you learn about yourself and the world around you when you're outside your comfort zone. That's why I like travel in general. I like to be in situations that is not a 5-star hotel with hot and cold running flunkies. You want to be in a backpacker hostel where you don't know what the hell's going on and you can't speak the language. Why? Because the magic happens there. The magic's never going to happen in a Ritz-Carlton in some city. It's just never going to happen. But it will happen when you take yourself out of that.
And you certainly will appreciate what you already have when you're in these uncomfortable moments as well, right? You can be more grateful for what you have.
Yeah, and gratitude's a really important thing because if not, you get complacency. You take everything for granted. But once you realize that, when you're living in a desert for a couple of weeks, you realize that life and death is a decision away. It makes you really appreciate the security of the lives that we have. But if you hadn't have done that, you're watching the media, you think everything's terrible, it's the worst possible thing, and you don't actually realize how easy life is compared to what it's like for others or what Mother Nature can throw at you. Mother Nature's a great humbler, right? Because, you can be here on the Caribbean Sea and it's beautiful turquoise flat calm, but my God, when the hurricane comes, that sea is terrifying and it's completely out of your control. I just wrote to my subscribers for Global Macro Investor, which is my kind of institutional research service, said, listen, this is what I'm doing with Real Vision. We want to raise some capital. Are you interested? And we raised $5 million in about a week. I'm like, wow. The next time we went to raise capital, we thought we'd ask our members because the US had passed the Jobs Act that allows you to crowdfund from accredited investors. So we're like, okay, fine. As long as you've got an existing relationship with them. So we just wrote to our members and said, listen, we're raising capital for growth. That's what we want to do. And there we raised $10 million in a week. We're like, oh my God. So now we've got a business being funded by our customers. Not only are they subscribers, but they're investors as well. If people care, if you can generate emotion from your community, that is probably the most powerful thing of all. I know code sounds amazing because it sounds so neutral, and so you just create code and you become rich. But actually, emotion is why Apple is a $1 trillion company. It's emotion. It's not just code.
And how do you build that into the product flow when you're thinking about Real Vision?
Again, we don't do this perfectly, but you've got to think about how it makes people feel, not what it does. Do you feel like you're getting access to privileged information? Do you feel special? Do you feel like you're getting smart? What does it feel like? And I wrote an email this morning to the senior management team about this exact word, feel. It's really important because we're so busy telling people our features and the benefits is not actually what you get out of it, it's how it makes you feel. There's a fantastic quote from Estee Lauder from the makeup empire. And the quote was, at Estee Lauder, we don't sell lipstick, we sell dreams. It's incredibly profound to understand that what lipstick is an emotional state of how you want to look and how you want to feel. It's nothing to do with the lipstick, what it's made from, the color it is, none of it. And that's really interesting. So I look at the world slightly differently because I'm a contrarian, as we've established. The goal is not money. The goal is lifestyle, quality. And that can mean different things to different people. You could be in a cabin in the woods in Appalachia and be the happiest clam in the world. But quality of life is the bank that you're wanting to build up. You want that deposit account to build. Money is just a mechanism of doing that. And don't confuse material wealth with lifestyle. Lifestyle are the things that make you happy and make you at peace with yourself. It might be access to nature. Access to nature on an everyday basis can either be done in two ways. One is you can afford to live in a nice place and afford to have free time, so you can engage with nature. Or the other thing is you don't do a job that requires you to be in a city. You do a job that's in nature. It probably pays less. These are trade-offs, but you could be equally happy. So it's quality of life to me is everything, and it's all we work for. And I learned that early on. I was in my early 20s, and my girlfriend at the time's mother lived in Mallorca in Spain. We were there for a week's holiday or a long weekend, and we were on a beach out of season, and there was somebody grilling sardines in oil drums on the beach in this beautiful cove in Mallorca, right? Perfect Mediterranean scene. And we were grabbing some of these sardines and a cold beer, and up on the left on this mini peninsula next to me was this palm trees and pine trees, typical of the Mediterranean, and a long table of 30 people, all generations. And they were eating paella on a Sunday, and they were drinking wine, and there were kids, grandkids, grandparents, everybody, friends, and they were having fun, and they were outside, And it was a very simple thing. They were just simple trestle tables, but just full of stuff. And I said, that is quality of life. This is what I want out of life. How do I make that to be my life? So that was my pursuit. My pursuit was that image. Is what do you want out of life? I had two dreams in my life. One was the Mediterranean, because I liked the environment of the Mediterranean, the people, the food, the culture, and I like water. I like diving. I like tropical beaches. I like sun. So that's why I end up in the Cayman Islands in Spain, is manifesting this quality of life. And so, yes, you can still get in the trap of wanting more and more to your quality of life, but also, if you're fortunate enough, it's then looking after the quality of life of those people around you. If you're really fortunate, looking after the quality of life of the environment around you. Can you start using your wealth or whatever to protect the environment? These are all quality of life things. And we have one journey as a human to go through life. You might as well try and make it the best you can, regardless of what that is. And it's not about money. I first bought my first... Again, story about Spain. I was in my late 20s. I was at Goldman Sachs, working really hard. And I remember explaining to Dad the story about that Spanish beach scene. And I said to my dad, look, at one point in my life, I really want to buy a house in Spain. And he's like, I think my friend is selling a house. This was lacking price, what the house was, where it was, nothing. It was just typical father comment. My friend is selling a house. So anyway, he sends through this image of this house, which is a 6-bedroom house on a hill in Spain. Again, I had no idea where it was. I'm like, yeah, Dad, how am I supposed to afford this? Yeah, I was reasonably well paid at Goldman, but I'm like, but still. And he's like, well, let me find out. And it was £150,000, which was not a lot of money for a house, 6 bedrooms on a hill in Spain, kind of 15 minutes from the beach. So I got on a plane the following weekend, flew there, bought the thing, and I was lucky enough to be able to buy it in cash. Needed a bit of work on it. And then I realized I'd won the game.